Hello, ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is why the US Navy is letting Iran's Hormuz blockade destroy itself. My channel, obviously, Navy Decoded. Yeah, Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz closed by the new supreme leader who sent a message, didn't come himself. Some people are saying that he might not be well since the news broke out that he was injured in strike, apparently. Yeah, some news also came out that, IRGC might be in control rather than the new supreme leader. Who knows what's happening there? USA is amping up strikes, just hit a island. We've had a lot of infrastructure behind it. They didn't touch oil, but they touch everything else, basically. Trying to, destroy their ability, right? And their ability to, refuel their, war machines, like basically attacking their money. That's what America's doing. It kind of makes sense. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's do this one.
Over 400 ballistic missiles, more than 700 drones, every launcher active, every magazine emptied. That was Iran at full escalation, maximum output. Everything the regime had built over 40 years fired in a single day. 10 days later, 40 missiles, 60 drones, a reduction of more than 90%. And it was not because Iran chose restraint. The supreme leader is still calling for total war. The IRGC commander is still threatening the heart of American forces. The rhetoric has not declined by a single decibel. Only the weapons have. The pundits are not talking about this number. They are talking about 3 cargo ships hit near the Strait of Hormuz, a Thai bulk carrier burning, a Japanese container vessel tagged, a Marshall Islands tanker struck. The IRGC declared the strait closed. Iranian state media ran the footage on repeat, and every military channel on this platform made the same video.
Yeah, let's anger Japan, because it's not like Japan has been trying to experiment with rail guns and successfully demonstrating that they can use rail guns on their ships, I guess, a few years ago. Yeah, let's anger Japan, one of the automotive hub of the planet. A country who you'll get a free ticket in your bullet train if they're just few seconds late. Yeah, let's anger them.
Iran strikes back. They are looking at the wrong scoreboard. 3 ships hit, with weapons Iran cannot replace. Meanwhile, CENTCOM has struck over 5,500 targets inside Iran. Over 60 warships destroyed. The entire Soleimani-class corvette squadron erased from the order of battle. 16 mine-laying vessels sunk. And last night, a ballistic missile manufacturing facility leveled by the bomber force. Everyone is asking the wrong question. How do we stop the fast boats? How do we protect the tankers? How do we clear the mines? Those are tactical questions, and tactical questions are for pundits who have never read an engineering textbook. Engineers ask something different. Engineers ask, where did those weapons come from? Who built them? And is that factory still standing? The answer is rubble. If that answer matters to you, if you would rather understand the war than just watch it, subscribe to Navy Decoded. Type.
Yeah, more like, I would phrase it differently. I would phrase it like engineers ask the question, how to reverse engineer this problem? How to stop the speedboats? No. How to make sure there are no speedboats and ammunition? Where are the factories? Where are the missiles comes from? Right? Where are the bombs come from?
Type proud in the comments. This is not a war of fast boats and burning tankers. This is a war between consumption and production, and that war has already been decided. There are 2 wars happening right now. The one the cameras show you, and the one that actually matters. The war on camera is spectacular. IRGC fast boats swarming commercial shipping, Shah HED drones buzzing across the Gulf, tankers burning in the strait. The pundits debate whether Iran can close Hormuz. They replay the footage of the Miyori Nari on fire and ask, is Iran winning? The real war has no footage, no explosions on screen, no smoke rising over water. The real war is a spreadsheet, a cold industrial ledger comparing 2 numbers: how fast Iran is consuming its weapons versus how fast Iran can produce replacements. When the first number exceeds the second, the war is already over. Everything after that is just the clock running out. Iran is not stupid. They understood asymmetric warfare before anyone taught it in an American war college. A $50,000 fast boat against a $2 billion destroyer. That exchange ratio wins every time at the tactical level. Iran calculated that America did not have enough interceptors to stop every drone, enough missiles to sink every fast boat, enough ships to patrol every mile of coastline. And they were right. At the tactical level, the math was perfect. But America is not fighting at the tactical level. America is fighting at the industrial level. And industrial...
More like at the local tactical level, it made sense. Yeah, but America is massive, the biggest military on the planet. You forgot about the Air Force and the bombing and their generals and admirals targeting proper facilities, because those are not idiots. Those are the people who's been at war for like century now, right? America's been always in some kind of conflict. If there is a one military on the planet with the most experience, by far is US military. They know like, I wonder how we're gonna solve the problem of speedboats. They're not gonna think that. They already know, oh yeah, I'm gonna destroy the factories. I'm gonna cripple Iran completely. I don't want to worry about speedboats.
Warfare has only one rule. The side that burns through stockpiles faster than it can rebuild them does not run out of courage. It runs out of weapons. This is not a new concept. In 1943, Germany built the best tank on Earth, the Tiger I, superior in every one-on-one engagement. But America did not try to out-engineer the Tiger. America outproduced it. 49,000 Shermans against 1,400 Tigers. Each Sherman was inferior, but the factories that built them never stopped.
Yeah, I mean, America produced Sherman tanks. They sent Brad Pitt with it. There you go. That's how they win. That's how they win. Yeah, that's a movie reference.
Running. The Tiger was a masterpiece. The Sherman was a production line. The production line won. Quality sets the ceiling. Quantity fills the battlefield. And when your factories are rubble, you have neither. Iran is firing. America is burning the factories. Run the equation. Over 400 ballistic missiles on day 1, 40 on day 10. More than 90% reduction in 10 days. That is not a ceasefire. That is a production line that no longer exists.
Yeah.
Look at the map. Shahrud, one of Iran's most critical missile complexes, responsible for producing the solid fuel rocket motors that power the K-Bar Shikan and the Fatah-1. Satellite imagery confirms extensive destruction.
Ooh,
the solid fuel assembly line, the single most difficult component to manufacture in any ballistic missile program, is gone. Parchin, the military complex housing 2 to 3 solid propellant production facilities, destroyed. Kojir, on the outskirts of Tehran, the IRGC's primary center for developing surface-to-surface missile systems, hit. Here is the engineering reality. A ballistic missile is not one weapon. It is a convergence of 4 independent systems: solid fuel, a metal casing, a guidance package, and a transporter erector launcher. Remove any one of those 4 and the missile does not fly. You do not need to destroy all 4. You need to destroy the hardest one to replace. Solid rocket fuel requires specialized chemistry, controlled atmospheres, and production lines that take years to build. Shahrud built those production lines. Shahrud is now rubble. The replacement timeline is not months, it is years. Years Iran does not have. Over 400 on...
Yeah, there is a saying, like if you're writing an essay, keep as few words as you can, because the more sentences and words you write, there's a higher chance of grammatical errors. If you're making any kind of system, try to make it as simplistic as you can. Because of this, the more complex you make it, even one part going bad is enough for the whole system to break apart. This was one of the issues with German cars, like over-engineering, right? Which they kind of solved eventually. But yeah, like there were many, like I know that there are many sensors issues and many things with BMW. So like, this is one of the awesome cars ever. But one fucking sensor ruins the whole car. And America knows this. That's why they're trying to streamline everything. That's why they're trying to do one thing that do all the jobs, right? Trying to streamline in a way that they don't have to rely on other things and costlier things. That's why all the costs are going down of all equipment. The planes they used to be really costly. The newer generation that's supposed to be even more costlier, because that's how technology works, are actually cheaper because of it. Because they're literally like ironing out, like what shit we don't need, just remove it. Let's not make this complicated.
On day 1, 40 on day 10. That is not a tactical adjustment, that is an extinction curve. Ballistic missiles, equation, solved. More than 700 drones on day 1, 60 on day 10, more than 90% decline. Same trajectory, same cause. Shahed Aviation Industries in Isfahan, the factory that manufactured the Shahed series drones Iran exported to Russia, launched against Israel, and deployed across the Gulf, hit. The warehouses, production halls, and drone storage facilities struck by the bomber force. HES-A, the Iran Aircraft Manufacturing Industrial Company, also in Isfahan, targeted. The production infrastructure for Iran's cheapest and most widely deployed weapon is collapsing. A Shahed drone is not a complex weapon. A PGS guidance unit, wings made of composite material. Iran designed it to be disposable, cheap enough to lose by the hundreds. Before this war, estimates placed Iranian production capacity.
Okay, which pickup truck? Oh, are those Toyotas? What is that? It kind of looks like Toyota. Is that a Toyota? I don't know, man. Which Toyota is it then? Like, it's not a Hilux, right? I don't know. With the sunroof, all right.
Estimates placed Iranian production capacity at 200 to 300 drones per month. That was the math Iran was playing.
Iran has RAM? Who the fuck gave Iran Dodge Ram? I don't get a Dodge Ram. Alright, apparently Dodge sells in Iran, alright. I didn't know that. They're rocking Rams, alright.
Lose them faster than the enemy can shoot them down, and the enemy runs out of interceptors before you run out of drones. The math was correct, until the factories burned. You cannot produce 300 drones a month from a production hall that no longer has a roof. The supply chain for GPS modules and piston engines depended on imports that no longer arrived through ports blockaded by the three-carrier siege we covered in a previous video. Iran's drone production was designed for peacetime output. Wartime destruction of the production base does not reduce output by half. It reduces output to near zero. Because a factory is not a single machine. It is a convergence of tooling, workers, raw materials, and electricity. Remove any one, and the line goes dark.
My man, he's hitting all the right points in this video, man. I really like this, right? This is one of the important points where India 10 years ago started to say, like, make in India. There wasn't just some tagline. This is military importance. Any kind of reliance on anything else, which means you're fucked in bad scenarios. At least I have to give Iran this, that they had some industrial capabilities, because most countries don't. Most countries rely on other dominant countries for equipments, right? I don't know, like Pakistan and many, you can think of any countries you can think of, relies on somebody else completely. India used to be that multi-decades ago, no longer the case, right? India bought a Sukhoi 30 Mach I, not Mach 1, Mach I, implying Indian make. India literally went to Sukhoi and like, yeah, I like your body, I like your 360-degree vectoring dual jet engine. But you know what? No, I'm going to take radar from France, from NATO, and I'm going to take weapons from Israel that they give me blueprints so I can make myself in my own country. So I don't have to rely on anyone else. And India has been doing that shit since then, like making your own missiles that fits into plane. Don't have to rely on anyone, right? And this is kind of crucial. If you rely on something, they can just cut it off. Your whole thing is destroyed. If you rely for a missile or something from someone else, the whole shipping is blocked. You're fucked. So Iran is actually industrial capable when it comes to military. And even then, America just like crushed the whole industrial level in less than 2 weeks. And Iran is actually a country who can do shit themselves. Most countries can't. So this is actually a flex by America, like we can do this to Iran. Imagine some other country. Ukraine can't even do a lot of shit themselves, and they're still at war with Russia because of supplies that comes from America. If this was other way around, if America was fighting Ukraine, America would have found a way to like cut off all the supplies that goes into Ukraine. The war would have been finished by now. So make yourself, reliance on yourself when it comes to military is extremely important.
More than 700 on day 1, 60 on day 10. The factories are rubble, the supply chain is severed, the equation moves in one direction, and equations do not negotiate. This one is harder, and we will be honest about it. The IRGC operates more than 1,500 fast attack craft. Small, cheap, $50,000 to $500,000 each. built from fiberglass hulls, outboard engines, and a single anti-ship missile, usually the NASR-1. They are manufactured in small boatyards scattered along Iran's coastline. You cannot destroy them the way you destroy a missile factory because there is no single factory. There are hundreds of sheds. This is the equation that has not been fully solved. Fast boats are simpler than ballistic missiles, cheaper than drones, and harder to eliminate through industrial strikes alone. Iran can keep building hulls longer than it can keep building missiles. But the hull is not the weapon. The weapon is the NASR-1 missile mounted on it. And the NASR-1 is manufactured at the same facilities in Isfahan and Parchin that are now wreckage. A fast boat without its missile is a fishing vessel with a machine gun. A fishing vessel with a machine gun does not close a strait. The same logic applies to the rest of Iran's expendable fleet. CENTCOM destroyed 16 dedicated mine-laying vessels, the small craft that seeded the strait with contact mines and bottom influence mines. But the ships were only the delivery system. The mines themselves come from storage facilities and production lines. General Kane confirmed that CENTCOM continues to hunt and strike mine storage facilities inside Iran. Without new mines being manufactured, without storage depots to reload from, and without mine-laying vessels to deliver them, the mines already in the water are the last mines Iran will ever deploy. Every one cleared is one that will never be replaced. And then there are the Ghadir-class midget submarines, over 20 hulls, designed for shallow water operations in the strait. They carry torpedoes, the Val FAJR, and can also lay mines. But a submarine without torpedoes is 95 feet of steel with nothing to fire. The Parchin complex that manufactured torpedo components has been struck repeatedly. A Ghadir with empty tubes.
Those bunker busters are insane, man. Look at that. 3 holes, gigantic holes. Look at for the reference how things look, right? Like look at the size of the holes, that diameter. Are these GBU, like the Massive Ordnance MOP? Is this the biggest one? Because the way the hole is, the way the mountain looks, it feels like it's those big ones.
Manufactured torpedo components has been struck repeatedly. A Ghadir with empty tubes is just a hull hiding underwater. No weapon, no factory to reload from, no mission. Across the entire expendable fleet, the same equation applies. The weapons are manufactured in factories that no longer exist. The supply chain is strangled by the economic blockade, and CENTCOM is hunting the platforms themselves. Fast boats struck daily, mine layers sunk, submarine positions compromised. Run the swarm math. Iran needs 30 to 50 fast boats attacking simultaneously to overwhelm an EEG's combat system. If Iran loses 15 to 20 per week and can no longer arm the replacements, the swarm drops below the threshold of effectiveness within months. The mine layers are gone. The mine factories are struck. The Ghadirs are running out of torpedoes.
Maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but again, I'm going to say this. This destroyers and the carrier is so far away from the coast. If there is any indications of speedboats coming, wouldn't they just scramble planes? I mean, yeah, you rely on Aegis, but you don't just do that. You use planes, multiple jet planes in the air, hunting down any speedboats that even try to come close. And these planes can do it. They even have attack helicopters. I mean, come on. So you don't like, oh my God, what if Aegis, get over and everybody sit there like that? No, you have an aircraft carriers with, what somebody told me 1890 aircraft, not 75. Come on, that's just one aircraft, right? One aircraft carrier. You probably have an amphibious vehicle there as well, Tripoli, which can also do shit. So you have overwhelming force there.
Because every platform was destroyed, because the weapons that made them dangerous are gone. 1,500 ants, 20 submarines, 16 mine layers, already gone. But the anthill, the missile factory, the torpedo plant, the mine depot, is gone. Ants without weapons are just boats. Submarines without torpedoes are useless. Mine layers without mines are empty barges, and none of them close a strait. Now address the objection every viewer is thinking. 3 ships were still hit. Tankers are still burning. If America is winning the industrial war, why are commercial vessels still taking damage in the strait?
This is like saying, if you're winning the war, how did one of our own people tripped on a mine and blew himself up? What is even that? Shit happens in a war. Some mines or something got hit. Oh, look at that, 3 ships got hit. That doesn't change the fact that USA basically destroyed everything it can see. Just because some of them passed through and attacked 2 or 3 ships, which is very easy to do from this chokehold, doesn't change the fact that America's pounding Iran right now. They're just choosing the targets and blow it up with no resistance.
Because those ships were not under American escort. They were not ordered through by CENTCOM. They entered the strait on their own, despite warnings, despite IRGC threats, despite the fact that every intelligence agency on Earth had flagged that corridor as a kill zone.
Wait a minute, some of them were Chinese, right? Like Hong Kong or something. Like some of them were Chinese. Did they thought like, yeah, we're Chinese, no way Iran's gonna attack us? And if that's the case, would China get pissed off now? Like, how dare you attack our ships?
The United States Navy did not send those ships into Hormuz. Those shipping companies sent themselves. And that distinction matters, because it reveals the difference between patience and recklessness. The shipping companies looked at the oil price. They looked at the war risk premium, $250,000 per transit. They looked at the potential profit on a cargo of crude. And they did what impatient people do. They ran the numbers, liked the odds, and tried to push through before the equation was fully solved. They gambled. 3 of them lost. The United States Navy did not gamble. The United States Navy looked at the same strait. 6 nautical miles of usable corridor, mined by the IRGC, patrolled by Gaudier-class midget submarines, prowled by fast boats, and made a different calculation. Not a calculation of profit, a calculation of physics. 1 mine under an A.R. Lee Burke, $89.5 million in repairs, and 10 sailors injured, 4 with severe burns evacuated to a military hospital in Germany. That is not a hypothetical. That is the USS Samuel.
Maybe an entire Alibag destroyer getting sunk. Holy shit, imagine the world headlines. Oh my god, Iran destroyed an Alibag destroyer. Do you know how fucked up that would be? Such a big slap in US's face. Is ridiculous. Like that is worse than anything US can have. Right? So there is no way in hell they're ever going to risk that. Man, it makes sense. People are like, oh, look at that. They choked the chokehold. And didn't America knew this? Yeah, America did. But like, what you going to do? Not do this? America had a goal and they went after it. They knew this chokehold is going to get chokehold and they didn't care. Same thing like how India said to Pakistan, yeah, you're a nuclear weapon, but we're not going to, with this like, like nuclear blackmail. You did the terrorist shit, we're going to bomb you. The end. I think there is like a drawing line in the sand. Like, yeah, you will basically stop the 20% of oil flowing through. I don't care. I'm still attacking you. That's what America did.
B. Roberts in 1988. One $1,500 mine blew a hole through the hull, broke the keel, and flooded 2 compartments. That is not a budget number. That is a crew. 1 torpedo from a Gaudier, and we lose the ship. $2 billion. 300 sailors. For 1 transit. The shipping companies were hasty about solving the equation. We were not. Because we do not need to solve the equation inside the strait. We are solving it outside, at the source. While those cargo ships rushed through a corridor that was still dangerous, the bomber force was leveling the factories that produced the weapons, making that corridor dangerous. Every night, another assembly line goes dark. Every week, the stockpile shrinks. Every month, the threat inside the strait decreases, not because we cleared it with escorts, but because the enemy is running out of things to shoot. That is the difference between a trader and an engineer. A trader looks at today's risk and bets. An engineer looks at the trajectory of the equation and waits, because the equation is already moving in our direction. And here is the twist Iran did not calculate.
Yeah, there is a difference between commerce degree and like an engineering degree. There's a difference between commerce and science. There's a difference between MBA and, masters of engineer. There is some type of friction between these type of groups, right? Like somebody who goes to like commerce and does like masters of commerce, master of business administrator, and somebody who goes to like scientific field, engineering field, right? Master of engineer, all that, BEME. This is basically that. Engineers screaming at, people with MBAs.
Iran believed cheap weapons would always defeat expensive ones. At the tactical level, that was true. A $50,000 fast boat against a $2 million Tomahawk. But America did not fire Tomahawks at fast boats. America bolted a $20,000 GPS guidance kit onto a $4,000 Mark 82 bomb and dropped it on the factories that built every weapon Iran owns. A $25,000 package, kit and bomb combined, erased decades of investment. Admiral Cooper said it plainly, since the first 24 hours, Iranian missile and drone attacks have dropped drastically.
Yeah.
He did not say Iran chose to stop. He said the attacks dropped. Iran is not exercising restraint. Iran is running out of things to shoot. If you now see factories instead of fast boats, subscribe to Navy Decoded and share this with someone who still thinks patience is weakness. Now run the final count. 3 cargo ships hit near the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC declares the strait closed. The pundits panic. Who is winning? Count what matters. Iran struck 3 commercial vessels with weapons it cannot manufacture from factories that no longer exist, using a stockpile that is draining at more than 90% in 10 days. Over 400 missiles on day 1, 40 on day 10. Over 700 drones on day 1, 60 on day 10. Shahrud, rubble. Isfahan, rubble. Parchin, rubble. Fast boats still prowl the strait, but the anti-ship missiles that made them lethal are no longer rolling off a production line. They are being pulled from a warehouse that gets emptier every day. 3 ships took damage because 3 shipping companies were too hasty to wait for the equation to finish. The United States Navy was not hasty. The United States Navy is solving the equation at the source, factory by factory, production line by production line, stockpile by stockpile. Iran hit 3 ships. America erased the industrial infrastructure that builds missiles, manufactures drones, arms fast boats, and lays mines, permanently. Industrial warfare has only one outcome. The side that cannot rebuild loses, and Iran is not rebuilding. Iran is burning through the last of what it already had. In our last video, we showed you the economic siege. 3 carriers at 3 choke points strangling Iran's oil revenue. No oil exports, no foreign currency, no imports. That was the first half of the equation. This is the second half. No revenue means no raw materials. No raw materials means no factories running. No factories means no weapons. The siege cuts the money. The strikes cut the production. Together, the equation has one answer, and it is not an answer Iran can change. The enemy does not surrender because the bombs stop falling. The enemy surrenders because the factories stop producing, the warehouses go empty, and the last missile in the last launcher is the last missile that will ever be built.
By the day 4 or 5, Israel was going back to normal, saying like strikes have decreased. By the day 4 or 5th, that's how insane the original strikes were and original targeting was. On top of that, now like too many things are destroyed. Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, I'm not doubting that Iran wants to fight until the end. But the problem with that is end might come much earlier. You have nothing to fight. So there will be a day where they're like, you know what, we need to talk because there's no way in hell we can fight. Even with their like extreme, like, yeah, we can do this. Like, yeah, there you go. No, they will be like, no, I don't see any way in hell we can do this now. And you can only do that by destroying their regeneration ability, which is industrial, right? Destroying their factory, destroying their economical power. Yeah, there you go. All right, well, that was why the US Navy is letting Iran's Hormuz block. This was a really good video by Navy Decoded. I like the points he brought up, right? Because it felt right. Like, yeah, this is how the strategy is going. Yeah, I'll see you next time.